Good evening, guys. James and Jacqueline from Mind and Body Detox. I hope you're well this Monday evening. Again, we just wanted to say thank you very much for all the interaction that we had last week. So from the main video, it's almost reached 25,000 views. And in a combination with a couple of the videos, we've reached over 30,000 views. But more importantly, thank you to you, we've reached over 1,600 shares, which is just absolutely incredible. So thank you once again. We received some really amazing feedback and lots of questions that people wanted us to cover. So if there is anything that you'd like us to cover in forthcoming weeks, then please let us know. Jot the questions below. And hi, Jessie. And we will gladly cover them over the next couple of weeks. But one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, how did we make the changes to us as a family and to the girls, more importantly? So we were going to just share a few kind of tips that we can give to you, that if you want to implement themselves, then please feel free to kind of push them forward.
And by changes, you mean how we went from their diet when I qualified in nutrition to how we eat now and how they took to them changes. So it's important to say that
Sorry, Sarah just said, when's the next book out?
And the next book out is very in line with this, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Stay tuned for that.
By the way, this isn't, just before somebody asks, Ribena with extra added sugar. This is Cherry Active. So just
Cherry
thought I'd
Active
put
concentrate. That. Look it up. It's really anti-inflammatory. When I started to study nutrition, it became apparent to me that I probably wasn't doing the best I could for my children in terms of diet. And my eldest was 4 at the time, and my youngest was 18 months. So my youngest, Honey, she doesn't really know any different. So she's always really eaten this way. But Angelica, it's been a little bit of a journey, and we've had to do things and implement things really, really slowly to make sure that she embraces these changes. And she now is actually worse than us. Like, we'll say, no, you can have it. She's like, but I don't want it. So,
and so much so, she's just started her own YouTube channel, Healthy Eating with Kids, or for kids, should I say?
So it's called Cooking with Kids.
Cooking with Kids,
right, Dad?
Yeah, sorry.
It's called Cooking with Kids, and she's taking some of my recipes and making them even healthier. And she's been doing like healthy cookies for kids, and we've not uploaded any videos yet, but I'm going to wait till my UK Health Radio stint, and I'm going to start promoting her YouTube channel because I can. So do you want to go with some of the questions? Or
Yes, so one of them really was just about, how do I encourage my partner to get on board to support me? Now, often with the way society is at the moment, there's not necessarily 2-parent families, so it might be one person that's the main parent that's doing the main work. But if there are 2 of you, it really does help, but it's not definitive, but it does help if you've got both of you on board supporting. A bit like when you're kind of, one of the children plays up and one of you says, no, you can't do this, or whatever your attitude is to doing this, and the other one says, no, it's okay. They know they can push the boundaries. Whereas if you're both together on it, it helps immensely. So it is a great benefit if you can, but it's not the be all and end all. So all we would say is be the change. If you set that precedent and they're seeing you do it, over time, they will follow, and I'll say, Mummy or Daddy, why are you doing this? And then you can express to them. The amount of parents that sent us messages that have said, our children have gone into school and they've told all their friends about the video, or, as I think I alluded to in the video last week that Sarah shared, that her daughter Florence at 5 went into the shop when she went to pay for some fuel with her mum. She saw a Smarties egg, and she said in there to the woman behind the till,
you shouldn't be selling them.
Yeah, you shouldn't be selling them. That's got 50 teaspoons of sugar. Don't sell them. And she's absorbed that information from watching the video once.
The children are sponges.
Absolutely.
And they have eyes that are watching, ears that are listening all the time. We know that because that they pick up on things that we don't necessarily want them to pick up on as well. So you have to be the example, not the not the warning. Is what we called? Yeah, we titled the Facebook Live "Be the Example, Not the Warning." That's so important, because you can't have cross wires and cross messages where you're telling your kids to eat their vegetables, but you don't eat them yourself. And the other one that I speak to mums about, particularly particularly mums of girls, but it is actually just mums in general that need to really be aware of this. Is I call it don't be a pinch and inch mum, and they are the mums that say, stand in front of the mirror, pinching bits and going, oh my God, look at this, oh, I need to go on a diet, oh, I'm definitely going to go on a diet. And then when they're having their dinner, you're saying, oh, mummy's not having that because I'm on a diet, I've got something different. That's a really, really negative message to be sending children, particularly girls. So, you know, just show them that you enjoy eating, you eat well, you make good choices, and just like most things, they will start to copy. And they will want to know why. And the other thing I always say is give children credit where credit's due, because I think sometimes it's the parents that often say, no, my kids won't eat that. And then you'll be really, really surprised when they try things and they do actually like them, and you're like, oh my God, I never would have thought they would have eaten that. But you've got to give them credit, and you've got to get them to try things, and also you have to make sure that you are consistent with your messages, and also explain things to them as well. When I say give them credit, give them an explanation as to why we're eating like this. That is the biggest thing with Angelica, because she really loves knowledge, so she will take on board why we're doing these things and why we're making these changes. So don't make it about weight when you're explaining stuff. So if you have a child that you're worried about their weight, don't explain that to them. It should always be about health. And the easiest way to explain this with children is just use that car analogy, which is really super simple. It's like, you know, if we put Mummy, why are we eating this? We never used to eat this. Why can't we have that anymore? And it's, well, if we put, Daddy's got a petrol car, and if we put diesel in it, it wouldn't get very far, or it would start to have problems with the engine. And it just how we look after our car with the right fuel, we need to look after our bodies with the right fuel as well. And actually what we realised is we wasn't putting the right fuel in, having those things all the time. If we want to stay strong and healthy, we need to make sure that we're putting the right fuel in all the time. Mm-hmm. And children just get that. Children get it, and it's so simple. And, you know, obviously make it age appropriate. Our children are only 6 and 9, so we've been really, really lucky, and it's because we've started to implement these changes from a young age. When they're a little bit older and they've started to go into senior school and they have access to money and they can go and get their own food, it becomes a little bit more difficult. That said, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And a really, really important thing is control the supply lines. So if you are the person that's responsible for shopping, then make sure you're putting the right things in the cupboard, because ultimately that's what's going to end up in their stomachs. And the amount of parents that say to me, oh, but I have to buy them, they really like them. And I just think, well, you don't have to buy them. There's other alternatives. If you look on our website and all the blogs that we do, we're always posting about really easy alternatives
and
for healthier options for sweet treats. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take ages. You don't have to be in the kitchen. Angelica, who's 9, she will make a lot of the sweet treats herself now. We just get the ingredients out and she gets on with it. She loves that. She's learning. She's obviously started her own YouTube channel to show others to do that. It's really simple, and it does take time to implement, but you've just got to be consistent. Small changes made consistently over time will make a really, really big difference, I promise you.
And I think also it's worth saying, and I'll be perfectly candid with this is the same with kind of grandparents. So my dad would have always taken the girls for a walk when they had their dog that sadly just passed away recently, but in the sense of that they'd take the dog for the walk and we'd go to the sweet shop. That was just hand in hand which went. And this has been going on for a long period of time. And I would keep saying, no, we've got to reduce this and explain why. And bear in mind, they're only really just cottoning on the last 6 months to a year, especially where we've been a lot more vocal recently. But this has been going on for the last 3 or 4 years. And as I alluded to, kind of even when I went away on a stag last year, I may have even kind of succumbed to think, oh, I'll get them some chocolate. What I did instead was I went into the Pasha shop and got them some t-shirts. Now, granted, it cost me a fortune in comparing to kind of like a Toblerone bar, but, you know, it's just those gentle things over time. And as I said, all of my close family, so my mum, my dad, my nan, my aunt, my sister, none of them are buying the eggs. We're giving them alternatives to buy, so they bought them kind of balloons and notebooks and things like that. So there are always options and alternatives.
It doesn't have to be chocolate and sweets as treats all the time. And actually what you're setting up then is emotional eating, because then you start to have a link in your brain going into the hypnotherapy side. You start to have a link in your brain where any time I do something really good, I'm rewarded with something that tastes delicious. So that could be sweet or savoury. But you have that link, and then you can take that through into adulthood where you will become an emotional eater. That's how it starts. And when you think about your childhood, think about how many times that's been reinforced over time. You fall over, you cut your knee. Don't worry, don't cry, have a biscuit. You do really well and get star of the week at school. Yeah, let's go to the sweet shop. You can choose what you want. And this gets reinforced. It doesn't always have to be sweets. It doesn't always have to be sweet treats. It's a way you can control the supply lines. And the other thing I was going to say, which just crossed my mind and now is gone, I can't remember.
Nothing says I love you like a Haribo is one of the favourite.
That is one of the things I say in the workshops is, we tend to, when my mum was alive...
Lollipops and the doctors, Jessie Minty said.
Well, yeah, absolutely. They used to give them in the dentist, for Christ's sake. When my mum was alive, my Angelica used to call her Nanny Choc Choc, because the minute she walked in the door, she would be handed something sweet. Obviously, I didn't know then what I know now. And
a bit like, I think I've said this beforehand, but when I was young, about 4 or 5, I absolutely hated swimming. I went to the bubble in Buckerstill, for anyone that's local that might have known that. And the teacher was vile, absolutely vile. Like, she'd just throw you in the deep end, and I couldn't swim at the time.
Hope she's not watching.
Well, if she is, then she'll know what it was like 32 years ago for me. But in that sense, my mum said, look, and I used to get like a really upset tummy, want to go to the toilet, and she'd say, yeah, sorry. But I just want to kind of get the point across. But my mum would say to me, James, if you do it this week, I'm going to get you a bar of Toblerone. So straight away, my association with doing something well was rewarded with chocolate. Now, granted, it wasn't one of those huge ones, it was only that, but that was every single week. Even when I was at the School of Excellence at Norwich at 13, my treat on the way home from playing for Norwich on a Friday night was McDonald's in Barkingside. It's just like, now I think about it, it makes me cringe. But my parents didn't know any different, and this was no reflection on them. They loved me and still love me dearly, but they just didn't have the education. So by us doing these things, hopefully, over time, you will kind of get to understand where we're coming from in that sense.
And please don't think that our children never have any of this stuff.
No, it's worth talking about the party situation, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, so when you control the supply lines, a really good thing will happen, because if you're eating really well at home, when they do then go outside and eat differently, so for example, this is a situation that happened with Angelica. We was trying to ease her into better ways of eating, so we was really controlling supply lines at home, started to bake stuff instead of buy stuff, was really trying to restrict the amount of sweets that she had. Everything was kind of clean eating, home cooked. And then she'd go to a party and she'd say to me, Mummy, can I have this piece of cake? And I say, yeah, you're at a party, it's fine. And then she'd say, can I have this biscuit? Can I have this? Can I have this? And she would overload on sugar. And I wouldn't say that she couldn't have it. I'd allow her to have it. And we'd come back, and by 6 o'clock that evening, she'd be on the sofa with a hot water bottle saying, Mummy, I've got a tummy ache. Yeah. So this is what I mean about giving kids credit, because I'd say to her, why do you think you might have that tummy ache, Angelica? And she'd say to me, do you think it's everything I ate at the party? And I said, because we don't eat like that anymore, darling. It's the way your body's trying to tell you, please don't put that in my tummy. I don't really like that amount. So maybe next time when you go to a party, you'll think about how much you're having. I'm not saying don't have it. I'm just saying make sure that you have a little bit more balance. And literally the next week, I think it was Father's Day or something, and we was at your mum's house, and there was a choice between a piece of cake and a lolly, and Angelica said, can I have both? And I said, do you want both? And then she went, actually, no, I don't. And it's because she'd remembered what had happened a previous week. So
it only took a couple of occasions.
It does.
And now she's fully aware of
obviously that they're not going to get that effect unless you are eating really well at home, and then the body will go, oh my God, I don't like eating like this anymore. We've only the people that we work with on our online wellbeing program, when they eat really well on the program, and they might have like a night out or something, and we advocate 80-20 rule. So they'll have a night out, have a few glasses of wine, order food that they wouldn't normally have on the program, and then they'd be emailing us going, oh my God, I can't believe how ill I felt the next day. And that's just your body trying to communicate, please don't start feeding me like this again. I didn't like it.
I think it's like the goldfish bowl analogy, in the sense of that if you've got a clean bowl of water and you put a little bit of murky, dirty water in there, you're going to see that really clearly. If you're eating poorly throughout the week and you add more to that dirty water, so that bowl suddenly is quite a dirty bowl of water, and you add a bit more dirt, you can't see the difference. But when it is cleaner throughout the week and then you add it, that's when you notice it. So if you're not making any changes whatsoever, then it's not really going to make a difference. Whereas if you are starting to implement that over time, and then you do go back to your old ways, you will notice a difference really quickly.
One of the things that parents speak to me a lot about when they come and see me here is they're worried that their children aren't eating enough fruit or veg, and in some cases any fruit or veg, and they just will not have it at all. And one of the things that we do in this instance is we start to introduce smoothies, because it's a really good way of getting lots of fruit and veg into a child without them gagging, because you can make it taste really nice and sweet and delicious. And I've had children that have been actually quite poorly with medical conditions, and they're either losing their appetite or they've never been one for fruit and veg, and in this instance they really need it as part of their healing journey. And I often make up smoothie recipes for them called their marvellous medicine, and I might say to them, what's your favourite colour? And one little girl said to me, purple. So I made up a whole recipe book of purple smoothies, and I said, just have a play and see what different colours you can make. And she absolutely loved them, and I was speaking to her mum about ways that you can make them taste good without putting lots of sweetener and other stuff like that in. And it's literally been like frozen berries, handful of spinach, which you cannot taste with frozen berries. No. So I don't know if it will be useful to anyone, just let us know, but we would be happy to provide a smoothie recipe book to all you guys, whoever wants it. If you do want it, just say yes, you'd like a smoothie recipe book, and we will work out a way for you to maybe go to the website and download one. Yeah, that's a really simple thing to do, and that's a good way to just start to implement new changes that will be really positive for overall wellness. They're really good to have as an after-school snack, or even as part of a breakfast. So Angelica gets up and makes her own in the morning. She absolutely loves her smoothie. Yeah, and she likes to put some vegan protein powder in, and she blends it all up, and she might have it with a couple of oat cakes and some almond butter. She just gets on with it. So Honey's a different story.
Which is the big sisters do it all for her.
Yeah, exactly. She's got a slave. So yeah, let us know if that would be useful, and yeah, we can sort that out. No problem.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I know there was maybe a couple other things.
What about Easter egg?
Yeah, we can look at that. And also, as I said, if there are any other videos that you want us to cover, I know that a couple of people said to me about, can we cover energy drinks, which we'll gladly do in the next couple of weeks, because I go to a local supermarket that's relatively near to us, and on the weekends it is just covered full of teenagers that have got a bag of Doritos about that big and a huge energy drink, be it Red Bull, Monster, Pussy's one of them.
Really?
Yeah, you name it. So we'll have our say on that next week and give you some other alternatives. But if there are any other subjects, then give us a shout and let us know.
I think the thing with that is it's only really coming to the forefront now how bad they actually are. So it's about educating.
Yeah.
So
one of the questions that somebody else asked is about
an alternative
to like an Easter egg hunt. What would you kind of do? So we said we'll cover that as well.
Yeah, so what we've done with the girls last year, we did a little Easter egg hunt. The Easter bunny comes and we have to hide things, and obviously usually you would hide loads of different chocolates everywhere, and they'll go around with their basket to collect it. We hid maybe 2 Kinder eggs, and then everything else was not a sweet treat. So they got a DVD. They were both after a different DVD. So they got a DVD that was, and when you think a DVD is about a tenner, and some of the bigger eggs are about a tenner, so that was an even swap. They were both after a certain top from River Island, so they both got the top each. So they ended up with a couple of bits of chocolate, some colouring books, a DVD and a top. And they were well happy. Yeah. And Angelica actually said to me the other day, do you think the Easter Bunny would do the same this year? And I said, oh, do you want them to? And she said, yeah, because all them eggs would be gone now, and I've still got my DVD in my top, so that's really good. So I was thinking, well, actually, see, we are the ones that often create the issue in our mind. We create the story before it's even a story, going, oh my God, how are they going to react? They're not going to like it, they're going to flip, it's not worth the temper tantrum. And it's literally been pretty much plain sailing. I'm not saying there hasn't been temper tantrums.
Yeah, that's probably worth covering a little bit, isn't it? Because I think, like, for a prime example, is kind of clients will share to us, say, well, how did you get the girls off the juice? So kind of it will be a case of that over 3 or 4 weeks they forget. So the first week would say, Jackie would say, oh, I went shopping, oh, I'm really sorry, girls, I forgot. So they were having water the whole of that week. Then the second week, it was Daddy's fault for not getting it. And by the third week, they've stopped asking. So unless you have, which we did, that little drawer where everyone goes into, that's their kind of sweet drawer, and slowly over time, you can reduce that or then just give suitable or more healthy alternatives. It doesn't take a lot, and you're only talking small changes over time and not overwhelming all of a sudden. This has been something that we've done probably the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And then the impact is significant. And as we say, not speaking smugly, far from it, but touch wood, the girls are probably, I would like to think one of the healthiest they are in the school, but they're the last children to get ill and the first to recover when they do get their illnesses. And that's only because we think, and we're pretty strong advocates of it, of the nutrition and the well-being and how they're eating reflects on how they are feeling.
They do rattle with the amount of supplements as well. I'm a big advocate for supplements.
But we personalise it to their needs rather than just giving them all multivitamins like a lot of people do.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay,
no.
yeah. So, as James said, if there's anything else you'd like us to cover in future weeks, if you would like a smoothie recipe book because you want to start implementing them changes, let us know and we'll work out a way for you to download one for free from the website.
Cool. Have a good evening, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.